Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's powerful episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And of course, I am your host, back from the Powerless. Last week was a nightmare. Unfortunately, not as bad as it could have been. You're gonna notice that there's someone missing from the panel. Of course, we're talking about Cybernox, who is a town over from me, and unfortunately, him and his family are still in the dark. And power has not been restored. So, of course, hearts and lots of hugs go out to him and his family, still dealing with the storm from last Tuesday. He will, of course, be back next week. And thankfully, the power and all the services are back here in New Rochelle, New York. It took 5 days, but they finally got it done Saturday at 7 p.m., a little after 7. We got everything back, and I'm happy to be behind the mic because, quite frankly, there's so much that has transpired over the course of those 5 days that I was actually unplugged, and it felt weird not to be able to podcast, not to be able to go to social media. I had people actually asking me, Boom, are you okay? You haven't posted once on Twitter. And that's because not only did I have spotty power and no services, the 3 cell towers in my area were taken down. So, of course, in the house, we had only 1 bar and we could barely load a video. It was, again, not as bad as it is for some others, but it was tremendously annoying, but it's great to, of course, be back. So let's get into the introduction so we could break down some of these incredible stories that I believe are going to really set the internet ablaze, because I have some stout opinions about Microsoft's handling of a few things, and it's going to shock quite a lot of people. But let's get into, of course, the introductions. We're going to start with my very good brother. You know him as someone who is currently living in Florida and not being able to have a nice slice of pizza. Please welcome Italian Clowns. What's up, dude?
Hey, thanks for having me, Boom. Love this show. Love this panel. So glad that everybody to be here. I wish the best for Cybernox. I know being without power is terrible. And sorry for sending that storm your way, guys.
Yeah, listen, dude, it's certainly not your fault, dude. You had no control over it. But listen, it's great to have you here today. We're going to be talking some Marvel's Avengers to open up the show. A small topic because me and Forte and Clowns got a chance to play it. So we're going to give our quick impressions. And speaking of the devil, so to speak, our man on a mission to give everyone the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X information that we need. And that, of course, is when we can reserve it. Please welcome Gaming Forte.
Yo, yeah, man. Super excited. It was a great weekend. It was kind of rough over the beginning of last week because we got some news about some friends that we hung around that had the virus, but your boy came back negative. So I was 100% better when I got that news on Saturday. So
that's good. That's good to know. I mean, listen, folks, this stuff is real.
It's real out here, man.
So you got to be careful. You got to wear masks. You got to clean your hands. You got to spray your shoes with alcohol when you come in from the street. You got to be a little bit of a hypochondriac just to keep you and your family safe. And I'm glad that you are well, of course, and you're here this evening. Next up, you know him as our resident assassin, someone that has been extremely vocal on Spider-Man's exclusivity to the PlayStation 4's version of Marvel's The Avengers. Please welcome the Tempest Son.
What's up, fellas? Good to be here. I'm excited to go over these topics. It's going to be a good one, guys. I'll tell you what.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're getting ready. I know you've been ready to rock and roll all day long. And yes, it's going to be a lot of big opinions coming. And certainly last and in no way least, someone that I added to the panel a couple of weeks ago and I think has been a tremendous addition to Primetime Gaming. Please welcome Mag. What's up, dude?
Good evening, Boom. Good evening, chat. And good evening to this fine panel of Suicide Squad members. I am the middle-aged game guy, better known as the Mag on these killer streets. It's a steamy day here in Toronto, and so are these topics, so let's get to it.
Well, yes, and it's great to have you a part of the show on a regular basis. And of course, yes, let's get into it. So first, let's talk a little bit about Marvel's Avengers. Now, there's been some controversy outside of Spider-Man being exclusive, which is still a bit of a head scratcher, but I've come to the realization that I understand Sony's point of view. I understand that they are leveraging the power that Spider-Man holds as a singular hero, but as the face of Marvel. I certainly do not agree with it. I am going to constantly say that. I'm never going to say that holding a character back from a third-party game is something that I'd be willing to do. If Microsoft did it, I would have a problem as well. And I have had conversations with folks, and people are asking, because one of the biggest things that have come out of this I guess issue is a lot of people canceled their pre-orders. And I actually had people that reached out to me and said, Boom, by you spending $200 on a collector's edition is really sending a bad message. And listen, folks, I have to be clear and honest here. I'm not canceling my pre-order because I'm buying it for the Xbox. I'm going to play where I want to play, with or without Spider-Man. This is the game that I have been looking forward to since it was announced. And it is everything that a fan of Destiny and the Division like myself is, except it's with superheroes. And listen, I'm again, if it upsets you that I'm still playing it, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm a gamer, and at the end of the day, I'm going to game where I want to game.
I can tell you what to tell them.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, you know what? Again, let's move the controversy to the side. But there was something that Clowns sent me that someone posted. I don't remember actually who posted it, and it's been getting some hubbub. And apparently, on all three consoles, the PlayStation 4 Pro, the PlayStation 4 Slim, and I believe the vanilla PlayStation are running Marvel's Avengers at below 24 frames per second. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you, folks. I played over 2 hours of the beta, and I had an absolute blast. Now, was there some stuttering? Sure. Did I see a little pop in? Absolutely. Did it make me not want to buy the game? No. I thought that what I enjoyed about the game was what I enjoyed about Destiny, which was about, and the Division is finding new gear to put on your character. I thought that the interaction between the Hulk and Miss Marvel, whoever is voice acting for Miss Marvel, completely killed the role. It just was done so well. I was unbelievably impressed. So you know what? Clowns, let's get your opinion on this. Obviously, we had a chance to talk. You know that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my 2.5 hours with it. I was crushed this morning when I couldn't play it because I said, "What do you mean I can't get to the servers?" And I realized that the demo, the beta demo, had ended. I was mad because I only got 2 hours into it. What was your experience, Clowns, with it? Did you enjoy it despite it running at below 24 frames per second?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with the game. I thought it was great, but like when you start out, it's like almost like a story kind of mission until you get to that war table. I had a blast. The only issue that I had was finding a match at the war table, but I disabled matchmaking to get in for now and played with NPCs, and still I had a blast. I mean, it's a beta, and I hope those issues are fixed exactly on launch, but yeah, I went ahead, and since PlayStation gave me some credit, I was able to get the game pre-ordered digitally.
Nice, dude. Nice. Excellent. All right, so that's good. There you go. So you enjoyed your time with it. I mean, did you notice any of the stuttering and the frame drops and the potential pop in that some people are reporting?
I noticed when I got to the end of not the end, but like I guess the first mini boss fight at the first war room mission, I noticed that there's a little bit of issues with the frame rate when there's a lot of action. But again, I thought, hey, it's a beta. They still have time to fix it. Yeah. And who knows? They may patch it even a few days after launch. I'm okay with it. It's the Avengers, man. It's a Marvel game, and it's a blast.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. 24 frames per second or not, I got a chance to play as the Hulk. I mean, come on, and he's massive. Like, he takes up a giant portion of the screen. It just, listen, folks, if you don't want to give Sony or Square Enix your money, listen, I'm going to tell you this. I'm buying the game twice. So you can say, wait a second, Boom. How do you stand up, put a message against this kind of stuff? How I'm going to do is like this. I'm keeping my pre-order for the Xbox because I want that Captain America statue. My favorite hero. I think it looks dope, and I'm really excited for the game. Now, I'm going to buy the PlayStation version, but how I'm going to do it is much different than you think of me just running out and giving Sony 30% of $60 and paying for the game. No, that's not actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until December, towards the end of the year, when GameStop has buy two get one free of their used games. And then with all of the points, I'm going to rack up buying the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and potentially S and all of those peripherals for Sony's machine. I'm going to take all of those points, wrap them up into a gift card, and practically pay nothing. So,
I wish more people thought like you.
Yeah, well, no, that's how you do it. I mean, listen, if you want to,
literally the best way to do it, right?
Yes,
there.
If you don't want to give Sony or Square Enix your money, and you're dead set on it because you want to be, the gamer that says, no, I'm not going to stand for this, buy the game used. That's how you do it. I mean, again, you're giving your money to a corporation in GameStop, which, by the way, I happen to really enjoy. I like all my points and everything I get from them. But if you really want the game and you don't want to buy it new, wait for a used copy or go to eBay and buy it used there. But give your money to someone that bought the game, was like, yeah, this game sucks, I don't like it, and they're selling it on eBay. So at least you're not giving your money to Sony. Again, it's a stupid way, but it's my way of saying, well, I'm not happy about the Spider-Man thing, but I'm not going to miss out on the game, and I can still play it and not give them my money. You know what? Speaking of GameStop, speaking of someone that knows the ins and outs of points, and I'm glad that you sent the compliment my way about most people not thinking like that, and of course you should. Gaming Forte, what was your experience with Marvel's The Avengers?
So I actually played it, like I said a while ago, like almost a year and a half ago. I played it, and it's a widely different opinion than I had the first time I played it. Like the first time I played it, I was like, yeah, characters don't feel like they got no weight. Everything feels like it's just like paper towel. And I'm happy to say that it doesn't feel that way no more. The fears that I had that this was going to be a very thin game when it came to just how it felt was completely alleviated when I played as the Hulk. And I was like, when I'm hitting things with the Hulk, I feel the impact that I'm having. Because that was my whole down. I was like, dude, I'm playing with the Hulk and it feels like I'm just hitting air. And that's what it felt like when I played it the first time. But playing it this time, I feel like, yeah, you can really feel that they put some weight behind the stuff. Outside of that, just playing in the different modes, playing in the war zones, doing the hero missions and stuff was really, really cool. I enjoyed it a lot. I actually played it a couple of times. I let my daughter, she got super into it to the point where if I didn't want to buy this game because of the whole Spider-Man situation, I would have to buy it anyways because my kids don't care about stuff like that. They just want to play as the Hulk and smash stuff. And she was like, oh, can we get Marvel's Avengers? I'm like, yeah, we're going to get it. We're getting it anyway. But, I had to be like, I had to play it off. So, Daddy got your back. Daddy got your back, even though you was going to have it anyway. But, dude, the game is very fluid. I like it. I didn't have any of the thank God I didn't even have, because I didn't know anything about the frame drops and stuff that people said they were having. I didn't have that experience in my game. Now, I didn't put a ton of time into it. I mean, like, because I didn't play when it first came out. I was working over pretty much the weekend. I didn't play until yesterday for the first time, and I put about 2.5, 3 hours into it. And it's very enjoyable. It's really cool. I like the interplay that the characters can have between each other and stuff. Just getting the chance to compare what the bridge section was a year and a half ago to what it is now when I played it is night and day. You can literally see the improvements in the textures and the gameplay. So I really being a person that came from that side of it, really enjoyed what they actually did for it. And it actually made me kind of forget about the whole Spider-Man situation for a minute, because I wasn't going to buy this game based off of Spider-Man because I didn't know Spider-Man was even going to be in it. So I was thinking like, is this game good enough on its merits of what it has now to purchase? And yes, it is. And that is something that I was super excited in. The only thing that I want them to do a little better, actually not even a little, a lot better. The one thing that I love about Destiny is you want to become powerful. It's like as you progress through the game, your character gets more and more powerful. But as you progress through this game, you do get stronger, and you do see like minimum gains in your stats and stuff. And like I said, this is only a beta, so a lot of this stuff can get fine-tuned when a game comes out in just over a month. But I feel like there was like the little increments in stats that you did change and move and impact. They really didn't impact your character on a level where you actually noticed it. Like that was the one thing I was noticed is like when I put like points into certain stats, I didn't really feel like they were very impactful. Even if I put large amounts in them into other stats, I was like, okay, still kind of feels the same. That's not a deal breaker for me. I feel like this is another way for them to just stress and see exactly what works and what doesn't work. I'm just hoping that as the game progresses and we get closer to launch, that they make those stats as you progress through the game very, very noticeable when you play through it. But outside of that, man, the game is really, really fun, and we definitely need to jump in there next week on Xbox when this beta goes live, because I'm definitely looking forward to that in PC.
I am really looking forward to seeing what advantages the Xbox One X is going to be able to have over the PlayStation 4 Slim, Vanilla, and Pro. Is it going to be running at 24 frames per second at the same time? I'm going to say this. I believe that the next-gen versions for both of them, for both the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, are going to be significantly better running. But I am going to say this. Listen, folks, I have played games that stuttered over the course of my 40 plus years gaming. And at the end of the day, if the game was fun, it didn't bother me. And like Forte, the only thing that I actually noticed in the very far distance was a little bit of pop-in. Like, especially when there's an open world aspect when you're with Miss Marvel and the Hulk, when you're trying to find an old shield base. And in the distance, again, I was, panning and looking around. You saw just the hint of pop-in. Again, not that big of a deal for me, not a deal breaker. A good friend of the show, as a matter of fact, you know him as the sheriff. Lethal Papa is in the house patrolling these streets. He actually said something pretty interesting. He said 30 FPS is unacceptable. A lot of people agree with that. A lot of people are saying that 30 FPS in 2020, moving into new consoles, should have been a thing of the past. We'll see if that is going to be something that comes forward with many of these developers and their next-gen counterparts. But we'll again, that's a deep, dark rabbit hole that we're going to get into at another time. Real quick, before I move on to the main crux of tonight's show, and a topic that I believe is going to really, really set off the fireworks. Mag and Tempest, do you guys have anything you'd like to add regarding the beta and what you've been hearing about these so-called frame drops going as low as actually lower than 24 frames per second?
I'll let Mag go first. Oh, you?
Yeah, go nuts, brother.
Listen, they're going to improve it some before launch. I hope they do. This is their job. This is a beta. It's what betas are supposed to be for. I just got to say, if it's that low, and if their so-called performance mode is, for the most part, just dropping the resolution, and you're getting about the same frames per second, that leads me to believe that there's just a serious bottleneck, probably on the CPU. I don't know how much they're going to improve it, honestly.
Well, it's only 3 weeks to launch, dude.
Yeah, so I'm being nice here. So I think it's unacceptable. Some people are more sensitive to it than others. I'm getting to the point where it's hard for me to play anything. One of my favorite games this generation, bar none, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I always thought that it held the frame rate to 30 extremely well. At least it does on the One X, and it looks beautiful. But I've been gaming so much on my PC lately that it's kind of like ruined it a little bit for me. I put it on the other night, and I was like, man, something's not right. I'm like, I didn't get nauseous. I'm not going to be dramatic here, but I was like, oof. I felt like I needed a shower afterwards, right? And I just see this footage of it being like sub 24 frames per second. It's just gross. It's unacceptable. I don't see how when they were making the game, they just didn't see that it was an issue. It's just, come on, guys.
I'm worried about what happens when you're playing with 4 heroes. When you're rocking and rolling with four heroes, what's going to happen then?
Yeah. I will say this real quick. On the pregame, I told you that I thought there was no way I was going to get to the 1X, but I want 60 on the 1X when that version hits. It will be better. It will be better if it's an unlocked frame rate. It will be better. Don't get me wrong. One example I have is if you put it on performance, Monster Hunter World. If you put it on performance mode on the PS4 Pro, you're getting like 35 to 45 frames per second, right? On the 1X, if you put it to performance mode, it's darn near a lock 60, and that's how I play it. So there are certain games that really benefit from the extra horsepower of the 1X. So we'll find out soon. I doubt I would put money down on it's not going to hit 60 on the 1X, but it will be better there. And that's why I said last week, it sucks. That exclusive deal sucks because the one version may in fact be better. And you're getting essentially a lesser version just because a company paid for it to be lesser on your preferred platform. So, yeah. Anyway.
All right. I mean, Mag, what do you got in the back end of this this small topic to open up the show? Kind of like the appetizer to the main course.
Well, I actually honestly don't have much to say because I've been watching from afar, so I feel like I was locked out of the club and I'm looking through the window and you know what I'm saying? So, but I'm excited to get my hands on it this Friday. I believe it's this Friday. And I will be playing. Yes. All right, perfect. Well, I'll be playing it on the Xbox One X. So until I get that controller in my hand, I'm just going to see how it goes. Now, I did see that video today. I saw the three, that 3 little compartment video there of the 3 different performance for the PS4, PS4 Pro, and then the performance mode. And I thought, nah, this can't be right. I mean, this is brutal. And I saw the frame rates at the top, the frame rate counter at the top, and I was like, man, this is that's something. I mean, I don't know what else can you say about something like that? Like 20 drop into 20 frames per second, 22, 23. I mean, geez, that's like playing within a strobe light. It's just So anyways, like I said, until I get it in my hands, then I'm really going to unload on my thoughts on this. But until then, I'm going to keep looking through the window.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. That's the best way to be it. Until you actually play it yourself, it's going to be, you'll kind of be reserved for judgment. Real quick, as we close in on 230 people already here, we're only a couple of minutes into the show. I have to thank a couple of people. First of all, Resident Link Gaming drops an outstanding and very generous $5 super chat. Says, "Good to have you back, my friend. It's it's been different without listening to that smooth voice of yours." Well, thank you for the compliment. Of course, thank you for being here, but thank you for your generosity. We have Dingo Harada, who drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Says, "I was debating getting the game, but I got the beta and the game for free thanks to a promotion hey, good on you. Apparently Verizon has paid for your game, so now it's even better. It's going to be an even better experience, dude, because you didn't have to pay for it." We have Goose8402 here, and he drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, glad you're back, Boom. Hope all is well at home. Yes, well, thanks so much for the well wishes, and thank God, yes, everything is back to normal, and I'm very happy to report that. We also have a new channel member. Oh, man, I'm going to butcher this poor name. I'm so sorry. Marlesco, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. Super appreciate it. Hopefully, you're enjoying the content that you want to remain a channel member well after the contest ends for the Series X and PlayStation 5, later on this year. But look, folks, let's get into the real nitty gritty, if you will. last Monday, obviously, and we're going to keep Spider-Man in the conversation. It was confirmed that Spider-Man, the literal face of Marvel, was coming to the Avengers, and of course, this was very exciting. And then, of course, that excitement turned to fire in the streets when it was confirmed by Crystal Dynamics that in early 2021, it's unfortunately only coming to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Now, this sent shockwaves through the entire industry, and one that is still being felt today by many. And look, I'll say it like this. It was a power move by Sony, and it was a move that they leveraged due to a deal that had nothing to do with video games, folks. Listen, I don't know exactly what was said in the conversation between Rothman, who represents Sony Pictures, and Kevin Feige, who of course represents Marvel. On, this deal was a part of keeping Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, in the MCU. And part of that deal was to get a Spider-Man proper for video games locked up behind the Sony paywall. And listen, it's business. Is it a fair business? No. Does it suck? Absolutely. But during the Double Barrel Gaming presents a Marvel Avengers Spider-Man exclusive conversation where Zemi Games and Dreadpool and I discussed the Sony deal. And we talked about the ramifications of future storytelling on the three platforms. But after that show, getting prepared for, what was going to be Thursday and Friday show, obviously that didn't happen because I had no power at some point and no services. I had a chance to kind of really sit back and prepare for Monday's show and write this particular topic. And, I said something during that particular cast that I believe was a little bit taken out of context. And I actually said, blame Microsoft and Phil Spencer for not having a Spider-Man exclusive. And what I meant, or what should have been portrayed better by myself, is that Marvel and Disney has openly talked about wanting developers and publishers to reimagine some of their most iconic characters. Now, here is a direct quote from Sean Shoptor, who is the Senior Vice President for Games and Interactive Experiences at Disney. Now, he was speaking at the 2020 DICE Summit at the Aria Convention Center in Las Vegas earlier this year. And here is his exact quotes. He says this: "I'm here for one specific reason, to empower you," talking to the developers and publishers of the industry, "to do really unique things with our catalog of heroes." The exec told this to a crowd of game developers. "We want you to tap into the power of creatives across the industry." Shoptor stressed the importance of original storytelling and reimagining what Disney characters, meaning Marvel, and settings could be. The Disney executive extended an invitation to game developers / publishers in a room throughout the industry. And he said this: "Come and play with our characters." And of course, he was referring to the franchises that are in the MCU. So when I say blame Microsoft, it actually has nothing to do with Spider-Man and Marvel's Avengers exclusive. That it has nothing to do with that. Phil Spencer had nothing to do with that deal, and I don't think he could have. This is a deal that was done during the 3-picture Spider-Man Tom Holland deal way back when they had that issue where Spider-Man was pulled out of the MCU and then put back in. So Phil had nothing to do with that. But here is where I have the problem with Microsoft and the MCU. I have talked about this on the Xbox Factor podcast. I have talked about this on Breakfast with Boom. And I am someone who is openly a huge superhero fan. And as an Xbox first player, as that is where I lay my head at night, dreaming of sweet nothings, I still don't understand why an open invitation like this could be put out there. Microsoft has 15 first-party studios, potentially more, that we don't know about. and they have some of the best talent in the entire gaming industry who has come over to, let's say, a company or studio like The Initiative. Now, I don't know if this is a Phil Spencer decision. I don't know if this is a Matt Booty decision. I don't even know if Aaron Greenberg is involved in this conversation, even though he's part of the big marketing arm of Microsoft. Or is this something that the so-called trend watchers at Xbox are just not picking up on? Folks, listen. Spider-Man sold 15 million copies. But you know what it did more than anything? It sold potentially 15 million consoles. Now, I understand that this next generation is not about console sales. I get it. Microsoft is doing things no other company is doing, and that's why they're the lead conversation when it comes to next gen. Not Sony. You can say whatever you want. Sony is not, they're in the conversation, but they're not the lead conversation for next gen, simply because of everything Microsoft is doing different, where they're just being very standard. They're being very standard, like they've been the last PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2. Sell consoles, lock exclusives, and sell these games to their public. That's what they're doing. Microsoft doing something different. The one thing that Microsoft continues to not do is listen to the fan base. Now, I'm not saying that they need to copy Sony. I'm saying they need to copy Sony, if you know what I mean. It's okay to lock an exclusive Marvel character and have said character be developed for your platform and your platform only. Now, platforms meaning it's going to go on PC and it's going to be on Xbox, but that character is not going to show up in a Sony game. It's not going to show up on a Nintendo game. And you know what? That's effing okay. And it's a tactic that I would take very seriously. So I've done enough talking. Mag, I want to go to you first because you, my friend, are raring to go. And you actually said you might have some unpopular opinions, which I honestly cannot wait to hear. Does Microsoft need their own character to basically sell consoles and hope for their Xbox community?
Well, I'm going to go down a bit of a dark road here. Okay, so let me just let me get this all out. But I think that it's based in reality, and unfortunately for all of us who are fans of the Xbox, even fans of the PlayStation, everything else, we're going to have to just come to grips with the reality of this situation. Xbox execs know that there is merit in getting hold of the superhero licenses. They know it, but will they? Honestly, no, they won't. They won't do it. And this is my thought process, is because it doesn't fit in with their future business model. Now, the way I feel about this, their business model is to become, in my opinion, almost completely self-sustained without outside help. Now, what did Disney do, for example? Like, look at Disney. 7 years ago, they started buying up studios, franchises, and what do? They launched Disney Plus, and now, do they have anything but Disney on there? No. So they're paying themselves through their own investment. Now, I mean, honestly, the fanboy in me, could Microsoft have gone to Square Enix and dumped a wheelbarrow of cash on their doorstep? Obviously, it would have been a drop in the bucket for them. They could have snatched up Black Panther, Winter Soldier. I mean, hell with it. They could have even got the entire Guardians of the Galaxy. But and then maybe throw Winter Soldier in as a premier character for Gears 5 or Halo Infinite multiplayer, like Fortnite does, that kind of deal. But this isn't their plan. Okay, look at this situation. What was it last week, the week before? 4 out of the top 6 best-selling games on Steam were Xbox Game Studio games.
Yeah.
I think they're doing just fine. And these games, aren't even their big bangers. I mean, it's not like they're, we're talking Halo, Avowed, Hellblade 2, Fable, Forza. These were little games, and they were the 4 of the top 6 best-selling games. Sony, on the other hand, they play a completely different game, no pun intended. And we're going to go see more. We're going to see a hell of a lot more of this strategy going forward, by the way. Okay. So buckle up, kids, because, for the next couple of years, you're going to see a whole lot of it. They have their first party studio games, but during their downtimes, what are they doing? They're getting third party exclusivity, at least timed exclusivity. to bolster their roster to battle what? It's not to battle Xbox's first party. I think everybody's missing the point. It's the constant barrage from Game Pass.
Yes.
This is what everybody's not realizing. Like, it makes perfect sense. And Sony, I mean, let's face it, Sony also does it to get the sales jump on the competition, because their goal is to what? Sell boxes. Xbox, they're looking for constant engagement. Xbox spends their money on, filling Game Pass with third and first party content. Oh, okay, like for example, look at this week. How surprised was I when I saw that Man of Medan and Darksiders Genesis, 2 games, by the way.
Two amazing games.
Okay, thank you, Boom. These are 2 games I really wanted. You know how many times I almost pulled the trigger on those games? I was like,
I pulled the trigger, so I'm on the outside looking in. I already own those damn games.
Okay, so yeah, now you know how I feel with the Avengers beta. So so these are 2 games I really wanted, and what happens? Kablamo! They're there on Game Pass this week. Okay, so that's where Microsoft is putting their money in. So instead of buying timed exclusivity of newer games, they're getting those other games in Game Pass. So the way I see it, it's 2 different strategies, basically, right? You have 2 different strategies, 2 different companies doing the same thing. Now, here's where I'm going to get very unpopular here. At least it's just a thought, but I mean, it's a sobering thought. If you want Xbox to be like Sony, you aren't going to get that. And it burns me up inside, because every part of me wants them to take Sony head on and say, you know what? They get Spider-Man. We get this. You get that. You get Silent Hill exclusively. Fine. We get, I don't know, whatever. The Tomb Raider 4. That's ours, or whatever. I want those things to happen, but they're not going to. You're not going to get that experience. So, I mean, that's like walking into Burger King and saying, hi, can you make this Whopper into a Big Mac? No, it's not going to happen. So if you want the full Sony experience, unfortunately, you're going to have to buy. You're going to have to buy a PS5. If you love all the amazing things that Xbox is doing, then buy a Series X or an S. And if you want to experience everything, then buy both. Exactly. Buy both. Be happy. These are our hobbies. Save your money. Do what you got to do. But honestly, to end my little rant here, we have to respect the 2 very different paths that these companies are going down, and we either invest in their vision for their future of gaming and their business practices, or you just have to walk away. But we cannot change what they're doing.
I mean, listen, I hear what you're saying, and you know what? You're 100% right. And I think that the best way to handle this, and I've said this before, I believe that this particular generation is going to be both companies are going to be so vastly different that I think that if you are a gamer, if you are a fan of gaming, I think that you're going to probably find a way to own multiple consoles. And I'm not talking about getting the Switch. The Switch is, listen, it's Nintendo. Who doesn't like it? I got 60 games for it. I'm not sorry that I support it. Every game that comes out that's first party, I buy without even question, because it's Nintendo. But I think for next generation, there is going to be a multitude of new gamers that are going to be supporting multiple brands. Now, granted, like you take me, for instance, every game that I'm going to buy next gen, that's third party or second party, that's available on both consoles, I'm going to get on the Series X for again, a multitude of reasons. Power, performance. I like achievements over trophies. I like my friends list. I like Xbox Live over PSN. So I'm going to continue to play there. I'm going to buy all Sony's first party. As a matter of fact, I'm happy to announce that I platinumed Ghost of Tsushima today, and I feel really good about that, because I don't have a lot of platinums. And thank you. And that right there sits right next to Spider-Man, and I'm thrilled, because it's my game of the year 2020. If nothing else changes, for sure. That's how much fun I had with that game. But getting back to the topic at hand, as we close in on actually passed 308 people. Wow, that's awesome. It means that this is going to be a great show. Let me just catch up on some of the super chats. First of all, we have Face 23 BKNY, dude. Thanks for being here. And of course, thank you for your outstanding $5 super chat. Says, I'm getting Avengers on PS5. I can't wait. Yeah, dude. I mean, that's there's a lot of reasons to get it on PS5, because you're going to have Spider-Man, and it's going to probably look and run pretty damn good on that console. And I will just upgrade for free, because I'm going to get it used for the PlayStation 4, play through it, and then enjoy the fruits of the PlayStation 5 labor later on. We have Nightwolf 3186. He's here. He says, glad to hear everyone's voice back on on here. Mag, Tempest, Clowns, Forte, and Boom. So glad you're back doing what you do best, bud. Hashtag gamers for life. Well, dude, thank you for the compliment, but more importantly, thank you for the outstanding generosity. Tempest, son, I want to go to you next on this. Obviously, look, I get a little hot under the collar with this particular topic because I agree with what Mag is saying, but I disagree with the mindset at Microsoft, and I disagree because they are doing things so vastly different than Sony, doing one thing similar, like getting a hero locked down and spending the money on an IP. I don't see any downside to this. If you were to give, let's say, the Initiative, Black Panther, or the Defenders, or the Punisher, or Daredevil, I mean, I could go on and on and on about who they could get that could be an amazing first-party hero that identifies with Xbox and its fan base. And make a Captain America game. Make my dreams come true. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on this? Are the people at Microsoft missing the mark when it comes to potentially locking down a hero on the Xbox?
Yeah, I mean, I've said on here many times, and I truly do believe this. If this was perfect world, which it's not, I wouldn't have any outside character, if you will, that isn't a original creation of said developer. Not go like Tomb Raider was for the Xbox,
right?
That was like a slippery slope. I still didn't quite agree with it. I played it, loved it, probably my favorite game that year. But that was a little bit different because apparently Xbox really gave them a lot of money to get that done. Because I don't think
the game, according to the many sources close to it that have been public about it,
yeah,
that game would have not happened if it wasn't for Microsoft giving them a significant amount of money.
And I remember that, and that's a little bit different. Same thing happened. I loved Bayonetta 1. Never played Bayonetta. Actually, I played briefly Bayonetta 2, but it was on the Wii U, and it slipped through my fingers. I haven't bought it, just didn't play it. But that happened with Bayonetta as well. The game wasn't going to get a sequel, and Nintendo was like, "Oh no, it is. We'll give you the money for it. Go make it." So stuff like that is okay, and it is what it is. Sony wanted to give money to Marvel and said, "Hey, we want to make a Spider-Man game," and they hired Insomniac to do it. And we probably wouldn't have gotten that game if it wasn't for Sony handing that money over. So, is it possible that Microsoft gives money to Marvel and said, "Hey, we want to make a Punisher game"? I'm not gonna protest. I'm really not. I don't like when characters like that go. If third-party characters like that go exclusive to one platform, but if it was never going to happen to begin with, you got to play ball. And so I do actually agree with you. I think it's something that they really should do. Will they do it? Don't know. Maybe it's already in the works. We don't know. I mean, we didn't know that Osobo was remaking and rebooting the Flight Simulator franchise.
Nope.
And look what it is now. Who the heck thought Osobo would be capable of something like that, right? So you really don't know. It could be already in the works, and we just don't know about it yet because it takes a long time. If they wanted to react and do something like this, it's very well possible. It's just not ready yet. Very well possible. But if they haven't done it, I think they're missing the mark a little bit because I think there's enough people expecting this because one platform is doing it. Even Nintendo had Ultimate Alliance 3, right? So I think they would be missing out. I think they do need to play ball. Do I think they're going to? I kind of don't because they really are going in such another direction that it's insane. I mean, their head is in a completely different spot than Sony, completely different. And, I like what they're doing. If I had the option of having one or two exclusive characters like, a Punisher or Black Panther or something like that, or would I rather have what we get in Game Pass consistently? I pick Game Pass, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So if it has to be like a one or the other, I'd rather have Game Pass. But I will say this is Microsoft. They're like one of the richest companies in the world. I mean, they don't have all of that money, but it is still, a division of Microsoft. So if anybody could afford it, I'd say it would be them. And, I don't think they're done acquiring studios. I don't think they're done making studios. So who knows? This might go somewhere. But your actual question, should they play ball? I think they should. I think they should react to what Sony's doing in this regard and give their fan base something exclusive. And you know what? If it is something like a Black Panther and they front the money for it, that game was never going to be made to begin with. Marvel's not making video games. They're letting other people do it for them. So I think it'd just be something that people should be happy with. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I mean, look, real quick, just a little bit of programming update. Tomorrow at noon, I'm going to be sitting down with BitCloud Gaming, Mr. Badbit, VJ, and of course, iDizzy. And we're going to be breaking down. This is going to be a very heavy Sony show. And we're going to be talking about a lot of what's been going on with Sony, their projected business ideology, and we're going to be talking about a story that is that sent the industry into a bit of a frenzy. Obviously, we have heard from several people, more specifically, a gentleman, Ephraim Khan from Kind of Funny Games. He has some inside information that Sony has spent upwards of almost $1 billion to lock up 1-year exclusives on major third-party AAA games. And what he said, he didn't say what they were. It's one of the topics we're gonna, kind of bounce it around of what we think it could be. But he says that it's going to shock the industry. And I think that if you I said this, I'll say it again tomorrow when we do the show. If you thought the Spider-Man thing pissed you off, you're probably going to be raging based on what I think is the next exclusive. I'm not going to say it here. I'm going to say it for the show. But if it is what I think it is, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not waiting, just like I didn't wait for Final Fantasy VII. But if it's what I think it is going to vex a lot of people. So if you want to know more about what we think, and the reason why I have the podcast set up is because obviously we have two prominent PlayStation guys, right? Two PlayStation guys that represent the brand very well, in my opinion, in Mr. Badbit and BitCloud. But we also have two prominent Xbox first gamers in iDizzy and VJ, who is going to come at this from his business perspective, because obviously he was involved in video gaming from both perspectives, both development and retail. So I'm going to be very interested to hear his point and his takes on what Sony's aggressive marketing has been doing. But yeah, if you're interested in that, tune in tomorrow at noon. That's going to be a special edition, Double Barrel Gaming Presents. And it's going to be a great show. It's going to be about 90 minutes, potentially a little bit more. But I hope everyone tunes in for that. But Gaming Forte, I want to go to you next on this because, you and I, we've talked privately many, many times on this exact subject regarding Microsoft potentially pulling a Sony. And you know what? I think, the old saying is the best form of flattery is to copy someone else's shit, right? I mean, it's not exactly said like that, but that's how I'm going to say it. And I just think that Microsoft is doing so many great things. This is just one aspect that I believe, as a fan of the brand first, that they're missing from their catalog of, IPs. And we have so much coming, but I still want them to do this. Is there a potential for their trend watchers to realize that when Miles Morales comes out as a launch title, that you can call it a DLC, you can call it a 10 to 15 hour game, you can call whatever you want. You know what I call it? A system seller. And I think it's going to move systems for the PlayStation brand. Does Microsoft need to, quote unquote, pull a Sony?
Oh man, so it's frustrating because overall, the direction that both companies are going in, I support both directions because I don't want to have the same. I want to have a reason to own both systems. Me being just like you, being a person that buys all of these systems, I don't want it to be literally the same box, but just slightly different games. I want there to be a big divide, and I think that's the way Xbox is going now. It's great because we remember the good old days of Xbox where games like Mass Effect 1 and 2 were not 2, but 1 was literally exclusive to Xbox for years before the trilogy came out and it finally went to PlayStation. And it was not because it was just a great move. It was something that defined the Xbox. It's the reason that people consider Xbox as 360 is one of the best generations that Xbox ever had, even above sales, because the games were there. And people don't realize, they had a lot of good first party games, but they had a lot of second and third party games that were just exclusive deals. And that was the one thing a lot of people really couldn't really get on down metric about, because when the money was there, he spent it. And the difference now is I do want Microsoft to make those moves, but the problem is it doesn't fit the narrative of the marketing scope that they're trying to do now. Like, if they their deals are going to be based around getting the games in Game Pass. That's what their deals are going to be.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when it comes now, if you was to tell me now, their deal would have been something from Marvel saying, hey, what would it take to get this game put in Game Pass day one? That would have been their deal. Their deal would have been, how do we get this to all of our players instantly without them paying nothing but a subscription fee? That's their deal. Sony's deal is Sony doesn't want to go in that direction. They want to go the more traditional route that they've always went in. And you can't knock them for that because they don't have to beat to the same drum that Microsoft has to, versus Microsoft doesn't have to beat to their drum. I think it pulls both ways for the most part, because people are always saying Sony is doing what Microsoft used to do, but Microsoft doesn't want to do what Sony's doing anymore. So, and Microsoft has realized over the course of this generation in general that the fight that they want to fight with PlayStation, they can't win. That fight that they were fighting for the last 5 to 6 years is not winnable based on the popularity of one system over another, the wide scope of one system over another. And I think this is them just coming to the grips that we still want to be a video game company. We still want to make games. We still want to bring joy to people's lives. We still want to have a box in people's houses as of right now. How can we do that? And that's what Game Pass ended up doing. Yep. So unless the deal has something to do with bringing something to Game Pass, I kind of feel like they're not going to do anything that appease that, because what does a game, even though it does still help when you get people to go out and buy games on your system, you still get that 30% cut that the developer has to pay you for putting it there. But Microsoft's not looking at there. I have never thought I would ever see a moment where a company as big as Microsoft, and they're huge, would still look at a cut of 30% is not enough, because to them, they're like, we want people to be in an ecosystem that's going to not only boost the popularity of a service that we have, but bring recurring revenue like Xbox Live did, almost 18 years ago. And that's what they're trying to find the next thing like that, because they are a very future focused company. I said in the tweet a couple of literally 3 or 4 weeks ago that Microsoft is still, don't get it twisted. Microsoft still has that belief in 2013. What they said in 2013, they still believe. The problem is they came a little too early to the party with that idea, and a lot of people shot them down for that. But look where we are now. Everybody's pretty much connected to online. Yep. Everybody's buying their games digital. Yep. Everybody's sharing their games with somebody on an account from somebody else. And now they're bringing out a subscription service that you have to be online to be able to access, along with a cloud gaming service that they're rolling out September 15th next month. Yep. That adds to that service. So Microsoft is literally heading where they wanted to head, and this is something that they first saw back in 2011, 2012, 2013 when they talked about this. So yes, it sucks and it's frustrating that they don't want to spend the money to get these type of exclusive license and stuff like that to bring these characters or bring this DLC stuff to the console that people want. But I just don't see it happening because it doesn't fit the ecosystem of what they want. Now, if you was to say, well, boom, well, Forte, what about if they did it like Game Pass exclusive characters? Now you speaking. Now, right. That's the difference. But see, people won't think that's a good enough move because they got to still pay into an ecosystem to get it. Where Sony, you just buy the disc to get it. And I don't think Square Enix I don't think Microsoft sees enough gain in their subscription model to, force people into doing that, because you already got people out there thinking that Xbox Live is going to cost more because of them just eliminating the 12-month membership. We still don't know exactly what they're going to do there, but that's already some pushback on that from some people in the community. So it's overall a frustrating thing, but I'm with Max. If you are a console gamer, this generation will be the first generation. It's not even the first generation. It's just going to be the most apparent generation that you just need to own everything. Yes. People ask me, and about to turn back over, people ask me all the time, like, why do you not get caught up in all this console war stuff? And I was like, listen, I poke, jab, and have fun on these podcasts about this stuff, but you'll never hear me say that Microsoft is the end and be all for me, because guess what? I always try to remember people. We all came from somewhere. At one point, we were all NES kids and we loved NES to death. At some point, we were all PlayStation people. When PlayStation 1 came out, you can't tell me that most of America didn't have one because they sold 150 million of those things. And something came out in 2001 that made you want to change over to another platform. That's what Xbox did. It didn't mean anything that PlayStation didn't have what you wanted. It was just something new that was a little forward thinking. It was more on the PC side of architect, and you were getting games on there that even PlayStation didn't give you. And then you kind of just got stuck in the ecosystem. They started Xbox Live. They gave you all of these benefits. If you wanted to stay on the platform, you kind of just stayed there. But guess what? The other side of the coin is there's people on PlayStation that did the same exact thing and never came over to Xbox. So you got to buy the system you want to buy for you, and don't try to validate your purchase to anybody else. That's a tweet I put out earlier today.
I actually saw that. Yes.
Don't worry about what other people think about why you're buying. If you want to buy Spider-Man on PS4, buy it on PS4. You ain't gotta cap and tell them you're doing it because of Spider-Man. No, buy it because that's the system you want to buy.
That's what you want to play. That's
what you want to buy. And guess what? I'm doing just like Boom. I wanted to buy this on Xbox and PC because I wanted to see what the differences is. I told Slow-Mo there's no way I'm buying this on PC because there is no crossplay, and I gotta buy it on PlayStation because if I want Spider-Man, that's where I gotta play it. So I'm gonna be in the same boat that Boom was thinking. Like, I'm just gonna wait until the game either goes on a buy two get one free or it drops to like $30 on sale, and I'm gonna buy it then because I don't want to be left out of something that I might enjoy more later. Because trust me, being a Destiny fan, I went through that with D1. Being an Xbox gamer, all of the stuff for the first year went over to another platform, and it as much as you don't think it bothers you,
it bothers you.
It bothers you because you feel like you're paying the same amount of money for less content,
and getting less content.
And I don't blame Sony for that. I blame the overall industry for that having to be a thing, because everybody feels like they have to cap for a company just because they spent a little bit more extra money to give them content over there. Just be happy they gave you the content and just move on, because as long as you promote it, they're going to see that it's working, and they're going to see that it's pissing off the other side, and they're going to think they did the right thing. So that's all I can say. But overall, Microsoft needs to do what they need to do. I just don't think this is part of their plan anymore. I hope it's one of their plans, because I think that's what they're going to need to do if they want to even be successful in selling a console on a large scale next generation. But if all they're caring about is Game Pass is going to take care of itself as long as they have the content there.
Can I say something to what?
Sure.
Just what Forte just said.
14.
14. My bad. What Forte just said. One thing I want to say too is about the whole them putting all their chips into Game Pass too. Trust me when I say this, Game Pass isn't even in its final form. It's like Frieza, form 2. Like he's got like 4 more stages to go. When you actually start getting stuff like Avowed, Fable, and all those games coming out on a regular basis, I think that's when Game Pass will go from the best value in gaming to just the best anything in gaming, honestly. Once they start doing that and the ball's really rolling, I don't know if enough people subscribe to it and like this blows up with the xCloud and everything else. And there's a ton of people using it all over the world, cellular devices, everything else. Who's to say once they get at that in line, who's to say they won't do some of these things too?
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a
really great sustainability in it. But and just to finish it out, and I will tell you, because just like he said, Microsoft, and you may not want to hear this, Xbox fan, people that love Xbox. This is the step that they took when they bought Mixer, when they got Mixer, and they bought Ninja and Shroud and Gothalion and all them over the Mixer. Game Pass literally is Xbox's last move before they do anything else with this platform. If Xbox Game Pass does not do what it needs to do for them, Xbox will not be what you think it's going to be going in the future, because I believe they want to have an ecosystem because they know the player base is there. They know that they have fans, but they also know they can't compete on a level that another company can when it comes to selling pure hardware. So now they're literally boiling down their ecosystem to what they do best, which is services. Everything about Microsoft since Satya has been there is all about services. Yes. If Game Pass does not prove to be the beneficial thing that it needs to be for Xbox, then you will not see an Xbox anymore. They'll become third party, like everybody keeps saying they're going to be, because then they're going to see the benefit of it being something completely different. It won't be a box or anything. It really just comes down to Game Pass is literally that last thing that Xbox knows that they can do great. And if people prove to them that they can't do it because they don't want to support it, that's why I say support Game Pass if you like to have games. This service literally is the best thing you can have as a parent, as a person buying a brand new system, because you're not being asked to fork out hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a brand new system when you get it. This is very consumer friendly. This isn't capping to say that you should have the service. It's just saying that if you love Xbox and you want to support Xbox, this is how you do it. This service, because this is literally, I'm trying to tell y'all, the last thing that they have for y'all before the one thing that everybody doesn't want to happen could happen.
No, I think that the reason why I don't think that it would ever happen, quite frankly, is the Xbox Series S and Game Pass. They are both introductory pricing where you're going to come into the Xbox. And again, this is where the two console home thing comes into play, because we've been hearing the last couple of days, and actually on Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast, we're going to go into this deep. Supposedly, there's another SKU for the Series S that's going to have it come without a controller, and it's going to be the box, Game Pass, and it's going to be $200.
That's crazy.
And if they could do that, because obviously Microsoft is pushing. Yeah, bring all your controllers forward. Don't worry about it. You can bring everything. You can bring the adaptive controller, your headsets, your elites, your 71 different color controllers. Bring them on all over. It works. The only difference is it's changed its shape slightly, and it has a share button. Now, if you already an Xbox fan, you have an Xbox One controller, if you could turn around and go out and buy a $200 console, that's the only difference is, I believe it's the GPU is going to be different, right? That big
clock down GPU, same CPU.
It's the same CPU. It potentially could be doing ray tracing. It's going to be the little brother of the Series X for $200, folks. those things are going to be flying off the shelf, and then you'll see Microsoft talk about not numbers. But clowns, before I come to you, let me just bring Sir X-Man. Let me just catch up on a couple of super chats. First of all, Sir X-Man drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "I'm waiting on Tony Hawk. I'll get Avengers later on when it's on sale, and I need to unlock Spider-Man and Tony Hawk game." Well, hopefully you'll be able to. I don't know. Maybe that's going to be a Sony exclusive also. I don't know. Hopefully not. Gamer by Choice drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Remember the backlash from Tomb Raider? I think I don't want bad." He says this. "I think they don't want bad press. Great show, guys." Yeah, I mean, listen. What are you going to do? At this point, it is what it is. Face 23 BKNY Efron Khan, formerly of Game Informer, says people should save their energy because next year will be people who will be more mad about the Sony deals. There's quite a bit of Sony deals coming. I don't know who they are, what they are, but I suspect one, and it's a pretty big one. Internal Ember drops a very generous $10 super chat. Thanks for being here, dude. And of course, thank you for your generosity. He says, "Hey guys, Microsoft definitely needs to pull a Sony because the money Hadding has paid off for them. They need their own hero game, and also they should buy a 20% stake in Square Enix for game release parity." I mean, look, I'm still gonna hold strong and say that I would love for them to have their own exclusive character. I mean, listen, I'm gonna go crazy here and say, a lot of us, many people in the community, do we really need Gear 6 yet?
No.
The answer is no, we don't. As a matter of fact, I hope Gear 6 doesn't come back for another 5 years. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see that developer. The Coalition do a Punisher game.
Yeah.
Why not? They know how to do violence.
I love you.
There you go.
That's
there
awesome.
You go.
Violent third-person action game.
Third-person Punisher game.
Yeah.
Based in New York, done by the Coalition. I'll sign that check, please, right now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need Gear 6. Let Gears just go away for a while. License out the IP, and you know what? Exclusive character Daredevil is going to be a part. Or if you want to get crazy, because they know how to do family, they know how to do teams. You know what you do? You know what I do if I'm Phil Spencer? I say, Coalition, you know what? Let's license out Moon Knight, Blade, Punisher, and Ghost Rider, and bring us the Midnight Suns. That's what I do. I drop the sack right on the table and say, take as much as you want. I have enough for everyone. That's what I would do. I'd bring the Midnight Suns as an exclusive. You know why? Because it's a hard, dark content that we know the Coalition can do.
I like what you're saying, buddy.
Year 6.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would actually like it. But listen, let me continue. Sikio Yumi drops a very generous $2 super chat. Thanks for being here. It says, "Where do you go for 6 days? FYI, PS hates gamers." I don't know if I think they actually love gamers. They love their gamers, more specifically. Sir X-Man drops another super chat for $5. I would love the Xbox only cable game from the MCU in Destiny. I mean, that cable game would be dope too. Maybe even an X-Men game would be fantastic. We also have Mariano Pampa is here. Thanks for being here. And also, thank you for your outstanding $5 super chat. Says, "Glad you're back, Boom. You and the panel are part of my Monday routine. Thank you guys for the content and your time." Well, thank you, dude, for the compliment. And Powerman 4K drops a very nice and generous $2 super chat and says, "Spawn." Yeah, listen, I can go for a Spawn game too. But clowns, look, you've heard everyone's opinion. I know you had to step away for a second, but you're back. Listen, I'm going to say this. I understand that I'm a multiple console owner. Most people probably in this chat own multiple consoles. Most everybody on this panel are multi-plat supporters, not only in games, but consoles. But Microsoft has an unbelievable amount of studios. One of those studios could be given the task of creating an original Marvel story that's exclusive to the box. I think that it would be big for the industry in several aspects. One, it would make headline news. Okay, now you're going to get the detractors to say they're just biting off Sony. So what? They're chasing a trend that works, right? Spider-Man 2018, 15 million copies sold plus. It could be more at this point. We know that when that game was shown off in 2015, it sold consoles 3 years out before it was released because Sony is the master of selling hope to their fan base. That's number one. Number two, could you imagine being able to throw a licensed, popular Marvel character on a banner that says Xbox Game Pass Day One? That is a system seller, but it's also what, clowns? It is a service seller because that character is exclusive to Microsoft. But guess what? It's in Game Pass Day One. Holy shit. Let's celebrate. Do you agree or disagree that Marvel and Microsoft needs to work together, and maybe Phil should get working on a deal? What are your thoughts on this, clowns?
See, Boom, I agree with you wow, as a fan, I 100% agree with you. I think that in my heart, you know, I'm a huge comic book fan. I feel like that Phil or somebody that's an executive at Xbox should go to Disney, say, hey, we want to make a license agreement with your Marvel division. Let's go ahead and get into talks, and then maybe produce and publish and make it exclusive to the xCloud Xbox ecosystem, like a new X-Men game. That would be really cool. They could even start out small and make like a remake of the X-Men arcade game that was really popular, and relicense it or something. But on the flip side of this, I just feel like that the direction that Xbox is going and the open ecosystem that they're striving for, I don't think that it's that kind of exclusivity is in their vision anymore. I think that dream of exclusivity for fans died with Donnie Matrick. Yeah. I think you know he was that kind of guy, but I don't think Phil is, and I think Phil looks at that as being anti-consumer and not being really gamer friendly. And I understand both points of that, but at the same time, I really do wish that they would be able to lock something down, even if it's just a single character story, even if it was just about like one character, like a Wolverine or even Bishop, Gambit, Rogue, somebody. And I think that would sell. I really do. I think that would push people onto xCloud because Marvel is huge. It's a brand that is known across many continents, and many people can relate to superheroes.
You know what? Let me add something to what he just said, because when he brought up Phil, it kind of just like a light bulb just went off in my head. Phil, what's one of Phil's favorite games?
Well, that's Destiny, from what I understand. Exactly.
What happened in Destiny 1? What became the DLC?
Exclusivity for a year to Sony?
Exclusivity. Now, we always cap at these like at some of these execs about the games that they don't play games and stuff. Well, we know Phil play games because he definitely plays games. Most of us have on his friend list. He's always in a game. And being a person that loves Destiny, how do you think he probably felt for the first time seeing a game that he absolutely not just played, loves to death, because he's played it ever since its release, and saw that a lot of the content that was available in that game was inaccessible to him? He was crushed. He's actually said that he's actually hurt him when he saw games from Japan coming exclusively. He's actually said that it hurt my heart to see games on the PlayStation 4 that were not on my console. Yeah, and I guarantee you, this is probably not how Phil started when he became head of Xbox. When it came to the generation, he probably didn't have that thought process about exclusives and stuff then. But I guarantee you, when he played that game and saw that all that stuff was missing, that in the game that he loved, a switch got flipped, and he was like, I can't I can't take Xbox down, because now he knows how it feels as a gamer to have that stuff taken away from him. So I think, I mean, like I said, I'm just paraphrasing and putting words in the man's mouth. I don't know. But to me, being in the position of power, because most of us aren't in the position that can actually affect that. He can actually affect if that is something that Xbox is going to do going forward. Now, I'm not saying that's how he should really think about how he runs the business, but the man of himself thinking about it, he doesn't want other people to feel like that. So when he says he wants everybody to enjoy the games and he doesn't believe in taking that content, that's because I think he, in his mind, knows how it feels to have stuff ripped away from you that you should have an title to, just because another company paid more money to get it. So that's just a little food for thought that people think, because I think Phil, that actually probably did affect him back in 2013 when they announced that deal for Destiny on a game that he absolutely loves more than anything.
I want to counter that real quick. I'm sorry, Tempest.
No, go ahead.
It's fine.
I want to say, to add to Game Forte's speech there, is that in a sense he's absolutely correct, and we saw what Phil did with Game Pass and making the Destiny 2 content available for Game Pass subscribers, and I think that's Phil's way of bringing stuff to gamers without excluding anybody. You know, he's making it available to all the Xbox Game Pass people, but he's not holding it from Sony or PC people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to say some real quick.
Yeah, jump on in.
Here, but listen, Xbox has already recently gotten an exclusive, and it's Phantasy Star, PC and Xbox only for I don't know how long. They haven't made a peep.
They haven't said
it.
But I'm hearing it's somewhere between 18 months and 24 months. It could be 2-year exclusive.
Yeah, and I mean that's a big deal. I mean that game is doing great. I mean it had issues, of course, on PC, whatever, but I mean it's doing great for them. And the new version, the new game, that's a huge deal, especially if they can somehow lock some form of exclusivity down in Japan to like the mobile devices and whatnot. I don't know if they're going to, but that'd be a massive deal. So they're already right there. They have an exclusive, and Yakuza Like a Dragon, that was never even on an Xbox system at all until a little bit earlier this year. And now all of a sudden the new game in the series is exclusive for a year to Xbox. That's it's big. So I mean, I wouldn't count Microsoft and Phil out completely.
Yeah, I agree, and that's actually a fantastic point. I didn't even put into the equation that yes, Like a Dragon, Yakuza 7, as it would be, is a year in exclusive. Something I don't think any of us saw coming. So the exclusivity on some things can happen. Phil is willing to pull the trigger on that. I'm just saying that personally, from a personal perspective, I don't think licensing out a Marvel IP that would not have been made unless it became Microsoft's IP to use is a bad thing. And I actually left out one of the biggest Midnight Suns, Blade. Now look, I mean, and again, folks, this is complete shots in the dark, right? This is like if I scratched off the ticket and it said, boom, you just won $1 million. It's on, right? Think about this for a second, and I want to just go back to just bear with me as my imagination as we take a trip down one of my favorite places to hang out, and that's Speculation Town. Now, the MCU is hot. Now, again, it's been a little cold because of COVID. We haven't heard a lot, but I can tell you for an absolute fact, someone that listens to comic book shows every day of the week. I'm a big fan of Den of Nerds. In fact, I even am a channel member for Den of Nerds. Josh and those guys, they make my morning every morning. They're just fantastic over there, right? You have a Blade movie coming. You have a Moon Knight series coming, right? Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider is going to be showing up potentially in Doctor Strange 2 in the multiverse of madness, right? Ghost Rider supposedly rumored to be in there, right? Punisher. Well, Punisher, he's been cold since the Netflix, but you know what? He's a character that you could bring back. All of these characters equal one thing: trends. Trends that are going to be hot in the next coming years. Mahershala Ali is going to be Blade, and he's going to play better than we've ever seen him play before. Much love for Wesley Snipes for what he did, but it's Mahershala Ali. And These films, these shows on Disney Plus are going to bring lots of eyes to these characters. These are characters that either haven't been done in years or have never been done at all, right? If you were to be that video game company that licensed out these characters and somehow put a Midnight Suns game together, and you gave this to the Coalition, or you gave this to the Initiative, which, by the way, is packed with people from WB Games, Rocksteady, WB Montreal, WB California. They're all there. You give these characters before these shows get hot, and you have a game out that's exclusive to your box, but more importantly, day and date in Game Pass. Do you understand that everyone's eyes move from Sony's Spider-Man to your box? Why? Because you have trending characters that have new films and new series. Listen, folks, if Microsoft is listening and you want someone to watch trends, I'll be hired. I'll even move to Seattle. Okay, give me a DM, drop it the email for my business email right in YouTube. Let's talk, because this is something I think would be unbelievably amazing for the brand outside of what they have going. Again, folks, complete speculation and ridiculousness, I know, but something that needed to be said nonetheless. But what I want to do is I want to move on to the next topic, and we're going to keep superheroes in the conversation. And, one of the biggest stories to hit the gaming world in 2020 has been the confirmation that AT&T, owners of the DC Universe, as well as WB Games, was interested in selling off the gaming division that included the likes of NetherRealm Studios, WB Montreal, and, in my opinion, the crown jewel, Rocksteady Games. Now, the three main players in the race to shock the industry and add significant talent to their roster, of course, was EA, Activision, and 2K Games, all considered by many on this panel and in this chat as the worst of the worst when it comes to the consumer and whether or not we matter to them. Shortly after the behemoth known as Microsoft entered the conversation, and it has been one that I have talked about on the Xbox Factor podcast, and we've all talked about it on this show before, that we want to see Microsoft pick up WB Games because it would be big. And then, of course, at this point, if they somehow owned Batman, and they would through a $4 billion deal, then they wouldn't need a Marvel character, though I still would license that one. That's just me. But you know what? In an article that I pulled from Windows Central earlier last week, we now know that Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment remains a part of AT&T and is not being sold. Now, according to the article, in a letter to all Warner Brothers employees, Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar outlined his plan for organizing the company moving forward. And while much of it has to do with elevating the role of HBO Max and making some changes to the company's actual business structure, Kilar explicitly notes that the gaming division will remain a part of Warner Media. And this is what he had to say on the subject. He writes this: Warner Brothers Interactive remains a part of the studios and networks group alongside several other brands that are all focused on engaging fans with our brands and franchises through games and other interactive experiences. Though tremendously disappointed, I'll say. I have a fantastic theory and explanation for this sudden pullback from AT&T. And I would say this: we know that on the 22nd of August, DC Fandom is happening. And you say to yourself, well, what is DC Fandom? Well, basically, it's their Comic-Con 1 month later, and there is going to be a tremendous amount of buzz that has been happening. DCEU, the once little stepbrother of the MCU, is coming back in a big way. And listen, this is what they have coming on the film side. And I'm going to bring it back to video games shortly after that. You have James Gunn's Suicide Squad, which is going to be epic, right? You have the Snyder Cut of the Justice League, which is going to be a 6-hour film broken up into 6 parts. And it's going to have Darkseid, and it's going to have Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern and Superman wearing the black suit. It's going to be crazy. You got Wonder Woman 84, and of course you got Matt Reeves, the Batman trilogy, which they're working on. So right now, their films look strong. But let's talk about gaming. Let's bring this back to gaming and why we're even freaking here. Now, we have 1,000% confirmation that Rocksteady is going to be there, and they're going to be showing off Suicide Squad, Target Superman, and we also are hearing that Batman Court of Owls by WB Montreal is also going to be there. Now, the amount of revenue that these 2 games are going to bring in, and if you comple the Harry Potter game that we know exists, we've seen the game, there's no reason at this point to actually sell WB games because they are, they're going to be making money hand over fist. But here is my theory. Okay, now I've said this publicly and privately. When you are selling a home, anyone that's ever sold a home, what do you usually do when you're going to sell your home besides putting it up for sale?
Well, I know where you go.
What are the 2 things that you fix up? The bathrooms and the kitchen. If you have a massive driveway, you get it repaved. If there are any outside work that needs to be done to pretty it up, you spend some money. In my personal opinion, again, folks, I'm just a knucklehead behind a mic, so what the hell do I know? I think that this is WB Games' way of prettying up, or AT&T's way of prettying up WB Games for a sale in 2021. That's just my opinion. Now, obviously, I don't have any basis on this. Again, this is just my personal opinion. But as great as that is going to be, right? And I still think that Microsoft, if there's one company that can come in and do this, it's going to be Microsoft. What I want to do is I want to turn this back to video games, and I want to talk about Suicide Squad, Target Superman. And I want to talk about Batman Court of Owls, and I want to get the chat's opinion on these 2 next-generation titles that are going to be shown off next week. Is it next week? It was the week after. Whatever it is.
22nd.
The 22nd. It's going to be big. Tempest Son, obviously, I want to go to you first on this because we know that you're a huge Batman fan. And it's really sucks because Cybernox is the biggest Batman fan, and he's not here to talk about it. But, obviously, we knew Batman Court of Owls was being made. Mm-hmm. We know that that's going to be. I mean, they let the cat out of the bag almost a year and a half ago, right? With the female developer wearing the shirt on her back. This is Court of Owls. I mean, they basically let the cat out of the bag. Yeah, we had no idea that Suicide Squad was a real game, and the fact that they're going after Superman is bananas. What are your expectations for DC fandom next week? But more importantly, how they're going to show off these 2 monster games?
Man, I'll be completely honest with you. They are going to show them, and I whatever we see, we should obviously, I mean, unless it looks terrible, I don't see that happening. So we should be excited, and I am very excited. I just don't think we're going to see a lot. I mean, that's just by the way things have been going with the lack of E3. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm feeling it, man. These events outside of E3 they're not cutting it for me at all. For whatever reason, it seems like they're just using it not as an excuse. And I know that there's the pandemic and everything else, like that. But just I don't think we're going to see a lot. I think we'll see enough to give us like an idea, but I don't think it's going to be a lot. Hopefully I am wrong. I'll just say it. Hopefully I'm dead wrong. But it is exciting. The Batman game alone, I think out of all the superheroes in existence, I feel like Batman has the potential to have the best games. And the reason I say that is because he's a man with cool toys.
Right. He has no powers. Yes.
But he has no powers. He's a man. So you can use that and base it more in reality. When Spider-Man, beats a random thug and does like a 50-hit combo, and the thug gets up and he's like, raw, and tries shooting you again. It's a little, I know Spider-Man pulls his punches, but that's ridiculous, right? It's Spider-Man. He can bench like 20 tons. But when Batman has to beat a thug in the face over and over, it makes a little bit more sense because he's just a man, right? So that's the way I look at it. I think his games are phenomenal. What do you call it? The cast of characters, the bad guys. I can't remember which.
Rogues Gallery.
Rogues Gallery. Thank you. Probably the best out there, just bar none. Probably the best.
Yeah, him and Spider-Man are, in my opinion, neck and neck when it comes to the Rogues Gallery. I think that Batman certainly has more notable heroes. They may edge him out, but I agree with you there.
Yeah. So great potential there. What I never once before that tweet from Rocksteady, never once did I think the Suicide Squad game was a good idea until I saw a freaking target on Superman's face. That hyped me up so bad. A million ideas went through my head. And if there's any studio that's going to pull it off and pretty much give you the DC version of The Boys, it's Rocksteady.
Yes.
I can't freaking wait. I am so excited. And about this whole, Warner Brothers selling or AT&T selling them off, you are 100% right. They want this company to be firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
And before they get bought, they want to make the most money they possibly can. And it's a good thing. And it also is a good thing through whoever's purchasing too, if they have the money, of course, because it gives you confidence in what you're buying. I mean, do you know how many? I'm just a goofy headliner guy, dying from the heat in Florida. But a large portion of the cars that I do, I replace the headliner because they're going to sell the car.
Yes.
That's a big portion of how I make my money is I pretty up a car that needs prettying up. And they're just probably doing that same thing. I absolutely don't feel like they're having a change of heart. This is exactly what they want to do. They want to appear to be a very, very lucrative business to whoever buys them because they can ask more, plain and simple. So.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, think about it. Rocksteady has not done a game in, 5 years, right? 2015 is when Batman Arkham Knight came out, right? 5 years ago. They haven't done anything. They are one of the top studios in WB games. Mortal Kombat 11. I mean, listen, we know what the NetherRealm Studios potential is, right? And I keep saying that I want them to go to Microsoft because I think they would be able to redo Killer Instinct in a way that we've never seen it before. It'd be ridiculous. But same thing for WB Games. WB Montreal, for instance. The last game that they made, at least the last game that I recall that I remember they made, was the Batman game that no one liked. It's probably my second favorite of the four. I thought Origins was dope.
It was good. I think
that was fantastic.
Yeah. I
mean, I almost broke my controller 8 times fighting. Who the hell was it? Open up.
It was Deadpool's wannabe. Or not doing that. Deadpool's the wannabe. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yes.
I can't remember it either.
I can't remember his name either for the life of me.
That's something. You know what? I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud when it comes to DC. I am a fraud. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And yes,
yeah,
it is. Look, this sale is going to happen, and the reason why I say it's going to happen is because they are millions in debt, and if they sell this for $4 billion, they're going to wipe their debt away, and they're still going to be able to make the money off of the licensing, and they're going to be making money hand over fist with the redone DCEU. Mag, I want to go to you next on this.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, the sale is old news, right? It's old news. It's new news that it's not happening. But as a matter of fact, someone in the chat actually just said it is. Who is it here? Matt's Deathstroke. Jesus Christ! I had a on the air brain fart. Matt Hazelhurst actually says something pretty interesting, and I did watch the video, and he's right. He name drops Hoeg Law. He did a video on. He said WB is still for sale. That email solidifies that the acquisition could be coming. I highly recommend that the chat checks out Hoeg Law's video on it. Yes, it was a great video.
I agree.
He Listen, I'm trying to get the guy on the show. He's been on the Iron Lords multiple times. He's a very busy man, so I'm going to see if I can get him on the show. He is, if you watch his video on it, he breaks down all of the key points as to why this deal is happening.
Yeah.
And it's pretty spot on. It's definitely worth your time. As a matter of fact, once this uploads to YouTube, I'll find the video and I'll just add it in the link so you could find it easily. But Mag, listen, the sale is the sale. Whether it happens or not, I still think Microsoft is in it. I think that they've already had talks and it's going to be what it's going to be. But when you talk about the 2 games coming out that are going to potentially show up there, and I mean, think about this. Think about DC fandom as a whole.
Yeah,
you're going to get James Gunn's Suicide Squad. We're going to see it. We're going to see what these characters look like for the first time. We know that Zack Snyder's, his cut, the Justice League that he made, is going to be there, and he already said, when you see the trailer, your eyeballs are going to fall out of your head. So we already know it's going to be big. But then for the video game aspect, for the nerd, the big old nerd in me who loves Rocksteady, who loves Batman, who loves Court of Owls, who thinks that's the best story ever told, what are your expectations for these 2 games? And has the Suicide Squad gone from to holy shit, they're going to be fighting Superman?
Okay, I'm kind of like a caged lion here right now because I got a lot to say on this.
Go crazy, dude.
All right, well, let me get something off my chest first before I get into those 2 games, and it's just about the WB thing. I'm going to check out that video, by the way, that you said you're going to link later because I haven't.
I'll send it in the DM. I'll send
all right, perfect, because I haven't seen it yet. Now, the way I'm still looking at this because I have no confirmation. I believe there's still no simple answer here. So my first thought was, pretty much what you said. Maybe they're doing just that. Maybe they're shining up the house, polishing the car, making it prettier, more enticing for a huge selling point. And then, they could be releasing all their content, maximize profit, take advantage of the positive, all the positive direction of the DCEU right now, kind of, blow their load, so to speak, and then dump the division, after they've maximized profit. Or seesaw, maybe they are pumping the brakes and hesitating. And just like you literally just said a minute ago, you're hearing all this buzz about DC. You're looking at the Snyder Cut getting a ton of positive press. Wonder Woman's coming out soon-ish. I know it got pushed. Suicide Squad with James Gunn. That's going to do huge numbers, just based off the popularity from the Guardians of the Galaxy. You've got Robert Pattinson's Batman coming. And another one, by the way, I'm really disappointed that nobody in this entire chatter panel mentioned this. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this. The Flashpoint with Michael Keaton.
Yes.
As a possibility coming back as Batman and then launching a possible new Justice League. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine the press? Then you got Aquaman 2 coming. You have the popularity of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, even though it's not tied in, but it's still, within the DC Comics universe. Then you also have the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, 5-film, epic. That's pushing the Harry Potter franchise forward. Now, getting back to the video games, like you're saying, couple that with the almost guaranteed success of these films. WB, Montreal's making Batman. You got Rocksteady doing Suicide Squad, Harry Potter RPG. Why would you let this go? See, that's where the logic is coming in. You see what I'm saying? Like with the onslaught from all these divisions of Warner Brothers coming over the next 5 years and beyond, this seems like a no-brainer to keep WB, in place. And, and perhaps talks of a sale, I don't know, maybe it was just a toe dipping of sorts to get a solid gauge of interest for future sales if things go south, or if the trend, if the trend dies out, maybe their star fades a bit. And then at least they got a financial backup plan, exit strategy, however you want to look at it. But honestly, my personal opinion, as it stands right now, WB and DC property is getting hot.
Yes.
Okay? It's getting hot, and it's going to be getting hotter. And I just want to see Michael Keaton back as Batman. Anyways, let's get to the games. Now, first of all, they're starting to really piss me off, okay, with this Batman situation. I'm going to squash this right away. Now, by the way, you think Cybernox is a big Batman fan? I got I got a Batman Begins tattoo on my right arm, and below it, I have a Joker tattoo. So, I don't know. We're going to have to go tie for first place here for biggest Batman fan. But listen, after crying wolf so many times, I have honestly right now, I have not one bone in my body that's excited for this Batman game until I get a trailer, give me gameplay, and give me a release date. Stop teasing me for literally years. I'm tired of it. Show me something. And I'm sure we're going to get something in the next few weeks. Now, I'm not investing any more hype into this until I see it. And that being said, I do not see it coming out this year. Okay, I'm saying minimum spring 2021 for Batman. Okay. I think the reason why, look, think about this for a second. After this DC event, what are they going to do? I think it's a little bit too late to launch a game 6 weeks later, and no one's even seen it. Nothing.
Dude, I don't know. We saw something similar, when they did the whole Fallout 4 launch, right? They showed it at E3, and hey, listen, it's coming out 4 months later. Oh my God, you know what I'm saying? So,
but Fallout 4 is huge.
They could release it in late November to go along with the consoles.
True. See, now the thing is, Fallout, like I agree with you. The Fallout thing worked. Well, I mean, it worked, but Fallout's not Batman.
No, that's true.
And I'm in my opinion right now, the only active IP that I think they could pull it off, and apparently they are, is Call of Duty. Like, we haven't seen Call of Duty 2020 yet. What the hell's going on there? Are they insane? But at the same time, they're not insane, because you know what? It's one of the biggest franchises in the world. And B, it's expected every year around that at the same time. So everybody knows the Call of Duty's coming. But we don't know that the Batman is coming this year, right? So, anyways, it's not being made by Rocksteady. So I think it needs more public exposure to marinate it into the minds of consumers, because, I know you enjoyed Batman Arkham Origins. I liked it. And I'm sure a lot of other people liked it, but it was not the Arkham trilogy. And I think if they really want to win over some other fans that are, fans are going to be like, well, it's not Rocksteady. Well, then they've got to let it marinate, let people see the game, let it get out there, give it some exposure, some transparency in what's going on. And I don't think anywhere between 4 to 6 to 8 weeks is enough time. So I think it's going to be spring 2021. Now, Suicide Squad, I know all we got is a picture. But first things first, let me ask everybody on this panel here, is that really Superman?
See, you know what? You're not the first people to say this. As a matter of fact, some people think that might be Bizarro.
I was going to say, is it Brainiac acting a fool right now, or is it Bizarro? Now,
interesting.
Here's the thing. But if it is, okay, let's just say for argument's sake, it is Superman. That's a ballsy move, because I got to tell you, that's a hard ask, okay, to get gamers to want to take out Superman. My son is 7. He plays, he plays everything except for extremely gory games. He's only 7. But the first question he's going to ask me is, Daddy, why are we trying to kill Superman? He's a good guy. And it's crazy, but it's true, isn't it? I mean, that's going to muddy the waters for a lot of fans. I don't want to kill Superman.
Well, they didn't show his face, right?
Yeah. You saw the little curl.
The curl is there. The curl is
and all
there.
That. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to kill Superman. Like, honestly, who's rooting for Captain Boomerang over Soups? Like, are you serious right now? Like, it's utterly ridiculous. So I don't think it's Superman. But if it's someone impersonating Superman, I think then as a player, you got true motive. Because now you're going to I'm going to go get that son of a bitch for doing what he's doing, because he's obviously doing something bad. Now, Seesaw again, you would have true motive. If they go down this dark road, let's say, okay, like I said, let's play the other side of the coin here. It would certainly appeal to a much older crowd willing to accept, a darker take on the character, just like the Injustice series. Look at how popular that was.
Yeah,
and you see
that was
how
really dark. That was a dark Superman. That was dark.
So that would appeal to an older audience, and that's really cool. But like I said, we don't know. It's just a picture. Now, my thoughts in regarding to controlling these multiple characters. Again, this is all speculation because we know nothing. But I don't know. I mean, do they go the route of let's say the Arkham series and have specific characters, specific chapters? How one chapter you got control Catwoman, then it went to Robin, then went into Batman dynamic. And then, post story, maybe allow you to switch characters at will, that kind of vibe. Or maybe the Avengers route, you don't know, maybe allowing multiple players online.
Yeah, you pick your character for
yes.
the mission. Yeah,
and
maybe.
Drop in any time, that kind of thing. And you know what? Honestly, I'm sure we're going to find out soon enough. And again, all speculation. But as for a release date, I'm calling October 2021, next gen systems only.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be next gen. Both of them are, I believe, anyway.
Yeah. Oh no, that was it. That was
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, Cage Lion be damned. That was fantastic. You know what? Gaming Forte, let me bring you into the conversation, but let me catch up on some of the super chats. First of all, Viper XT, a good friend and a very generous friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $2 super chat. Says, "Give me Series X with the Punisher skull on it. I'll take it." Yes, I'll take 2. Let me just catch up on some of these other super chats. I know a few of them has come in. Okay, let me see. Hold on just a second, folks. I'm trying to catch it up. It's okay. Okay, well, the last one that I saw is from J Mo Money. He drops a $5 super chat. Says, "Shout out to Boom and Panel on another great show. Great to hear gaming news again after our bad boy Finn arrived last week. Game on, my friends." Yes, well, thank you so much for being here. Of course, thank you for the super chat. Sir X-Man drops another $2 super chat and says, "DC versus Mortal Kombat 2. That would be awesome." Yeah, I think a lot of people would actually be calling for that, to be quite honest. That would be, I think, a game that a lot of people would play. You know, Forte, obviously, again, if you after the show you watch that video, or if you've already watched that video,
I watched it at work.
That was
beautiful,
really well done. Like, if you don't follow this dude, it's HOEGLAW. Follow him on Twitter and go look him up on YouTube for this particular video. He really broke it down where if he's involved, again, he really has the back end understanding of what knucklehead podcasters like us don't really know. He knows the real weeds of it. It sounds like it's still for sale, but with that said, we have 2 massive games coming out. And again, I know that Mag said that he doesn't believe Batman is coming. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Batman is launching this fall with the new consoles. I think it's exclusive to next-gen consoles, in my opinion. I don't know how far Suicide Squad is. I mean, could we get one in November and one in February? I don't know. I'll take either order. I don't care whether it's Batman first, Suicide Squad second, and vice versa. When you saw the poster last week, did your brain explode? Because I know mine did.
Yeah, it exploded for all the wrong reasons. I was sitting there like, man, can we just I need to know more, because the thing about this is we've been talking about Batman and all this stuff for like years now. It's like almost up at Splinter Cell territory for me, where I keep saying like, we keep saying it's gonna be here, and it's not here, and we keep hearing, oh, Rocksteady's gonna show this and they're gonna show that, and they never show up to a show. So I'm almost at that point now. Like, yes, it blew me away when I saw it, because it's really nice to finally hear a developer that you truly respect and a franchise you truly respect to come out and say something. But I'm kind of with Mag on Batman not coming, at least in his own game. Because this whole Suicide Squad thing kind of got me interested for the fact that, one thing, if they're truly going to go after Superman, there's only one character they can have in the game that's going to go after, help them go after Superman. I think that's where you're going to probably, if Batman does come early, that's where you'll see it. In the Suicide Squad, because I feel like, Suicide Squad can operate, I feel like, on its own, but do you really see them, especially if it's Bizarro or Superman they're going after, do you really see them being the ones that's going to try to take down this massive entity that is like literally the whole world would hate it when it comes to like you trying to literally take out Superman, like Mag said? But how would you feel if Batman was part? They already did this trick when it came to the Injustice series. People were kind of split on how they felt about that. So now you're raising the stakes even more in a completely different franchise, but now it's not just in a fighting game. The stakes are actually in a game where you actually make decisions and choices, and you're actually hunting Superman down in a more meaningful way. I think this would be a good opportunity for them to inject Batman into that universe, and it being like the prize being Bizarro or Superman at the end. So I do think Mag is right when he think we're not going to get that Batman game right out of the gate, but I do think there's a really good chance that we don't know all the information about Suicide Squad. That's because Batman might be a part of Suicide Squad.
That's insane what you're saying. But we have breaking news, and I don't think I've ever had this happen where I was talking about a particular subject and breaking news coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Major layoffs have hit DC and the DC universe. What will happen to the DCEU? And according to sources close to it, the DC universe was DOA as soon as AT&T merger happened. So the majority, according to the article, it says this: the majority of staff of the streaming service DC Universe has been laid off, as has editor-in-chief Bob Harris and multiple other executives on the publishing side. Now, listen, I mean, I have to read the story before I start talking about it. I'm literally reading a thumbnail. I hate doing that, but I'm live on the air, so I'm limited to what I can do. I honestly don't believe that DC was dead because, folks, the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League is happening not because of Warner Brothers. Those folks over there that they laid off were stepping in the way of Zack Snyder. And if you don't know the back end of how they treated him when his daughter committed suicide, where he had to leave the project, they ushered him out. And they brought in Josh Whedon, and which, of course, the Justice League was the Justice League. Some people hate it, some people love it, some people are lukewarm on it. The reason why that Zack Snyder cut that they're going to spend about $100 million to finish making is because of AT&T. So I don't know what's happening here, but I can tell you that layoffs have been confirmed by the Hollywood Reporter, and it is not good when you see people lose their jobs. But it makes you wonder, once again, bringing in the sale of it, when you're going to make a big push to sell your company, these are the kind of things that happen. And that Hoeg Law video is even making more sense now than it did before. Before it was a masterwork of knowledge. Clowns.
Let me speak on that real quick.
Yeah, come on in.
The reason I think this is very significant, that this is actually, because I saw this earlier and I would like glance through it, so I really didn't read it all, but now I'm looking at it. The reason this looks very telling that this isn't it for them. The one thing that I liked about Hoeg's video where he said it, he basically just talked about how if you're going to sell something, you're not going to change the outlook and the perception of what you're selling, because that starts the negotiation table all over again. The fact that if you look at that original email that he sent to the staff, it basically talked about restructuring of everything with the exception of what they're trying to sell to somebody else when it comes to the video game section of WB. They got a new CEO that got upgraded into that position, but everything else stayed the same. They're not changing the outlook of that. They're changing the outlook of everything else around it. And if you were thinking about selling something and you decided not to sell it, what you wouldn't close a whole completely other division that you were trying, that you weren't trying to sell or anything, because I feel like this is just another step in them making the decision like, okay, this is one thing that we can get rid of to cut some of that cost. And if they wasn't, and think about it, if they weren't in a cut cost type of way, they wouldn't be basically deleting these people's employment away from the company. So this just lets you know this is the first step of their plan. And now the next thing is going to fall is either other divisions inside of it, because look, they did a massive restructuring of WB from top to bottom.
They sure did.
From HBO Max all the way down to Colonel TV. Everything that was basically part of WB has been touched in some way, with the exception of the one thing that they're selling. And the thing that they're selling is the video game IP division. Well, not the IP, but this is the video game division of Warner Brothers Interactive. And they haven't touched that at all. So that's why I think people need to go check that video, because this just tells me that they're probably even closer to selling that than people think they are.
Yeah, because obviously someone put in the chat. I don't. Again, folks, I'm going to read the chat because they specifically said a particular number. They said that apparently AT&T is in debt 152 billion dollars.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous how much they're in debt.
which is outrageous. So obviously a $4 billion sale isn't really going to it's not even going to scratch the itch, so to speak.
Right.
But again, we're going to start seeing major restructures coming in the form of WB as a whole, and WB Games is probably still on the chopping block, so to speak. And I've said this before, folks, and I will die on this hill. And if I'm wrong, I'll come on this show or one of my other shows and be like, you know what, Boom was wrong. I got no problems. I got no problem being wrong. I think that the deal, in my opinion, for Microsoft buying WB Games is either done, close to being done, or is going to be done sometime next year. I say that because of what we talked about to open up the show, is how important Xbox Game Pass is for Microsoft. And if you can put, and I really do mean this, if you can put Mortal Kombat 12 and Batman whatever on your banner that says Xbox Game Pass day and date, people, even if they decide to leave it as a multi-plat, but they could potentially do, just like Minecraft, they would not buy it on a Sony machine to get it in Game Pass. Why? Well, they don't have to buy the game. It's $15 a month. Oh, and by the way, over here it plays better, way better from what we understand. So I still think it's a deal they should make if they haven't already made it. But again, I'm just a knucklehead behind a microphone. What the hell do I know? Clowns, we have breaking news live on the air. We have WB laying off major executives, making some serious coin. So it's going to save them some bucks. There's no doubt about it. But with that said, what are your thoughts on us getting either one of the games, whether it be Suicide Squad or the actual Batman Court of Owls? Does that happen this year? And does that happen exclusively on next-gen consoles?
Do you mean as far as exclusivity, or
No, I mean that. Well, yeah, they're not coming to the old consoles. In my opinion, I don't think the old consoles, both the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 Pro, could run them. In my opinion,
I think I think we'll see something next gen with maybe Batman Court of Owls, because I think that's been teased already. So I'm really hoping to see that coming. I did want to address the breaking news though, Boom, real quick, because I'm actually personal friends with a lot of people in the comic book industry, due to the comic book podcast I had. And Heather Antos, she is an editor for Valiant Image, and she was very surprised about these layoffs. So this wasn't something that was spoke about publicly, and it was done by surprise. So a lot of people didn't even know they were going to lose their jobs on a Monday. So this was kind of just like a quick thing. And they kept, surprisingly though, they kept Jim Lee as CCO. Some of you guys may know. Yeah, because some of you guys may know Jim Lee, formerly of Image. So I imagine he has a high pay scale. So I'm surprised that they kept him. And it was really, like Forte and Tempest Sun alluded to, is getting rid of DC Universe, since it's going to HBO Max anyway. And they also got rid of some of the Black Label creators for the DC novels, which is very surprising. So I'm hoping that DC itself, the comic book side, doesn't get spun off to a lower publisher. I'm really worried about that.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's anytime anyone lose their job, I mean, you never want to see it happen. But when AT&T bought DC Universe, I think they understood that they were buying something that was a bit of a sinking ship to some extent, and they're looking to make money on the back end. And like I said, I still believe in my heart of hearts that Microsoft, being who they are and how they have views, and you know something, I said this on the Xbox Factor podcast a couple of weeks ago. I sat here today and I completely wrote an original topic complaining about how I want Microsoft to make their own Marvel game. I still do, and I'm gonna again, it's one of those hills that I'll just die on, because I really think that they have. There's so many Marvel characters that they could incorporate into an exclusive that would be big for the brand. But what if they didn't do it because of the WB thing? Now, again, as podcasters, as gamers, right? Gamers first, right? Content creators second. We found out about this AT&T selling thing, what, a couple weeks ago, right? Maybe a month ago, potentially. And we just found out about this. Folks, I can tell you this right now. Microsoft and the rest of these companies knew about this 8 months ago. And I believe that's how old this deal is. When we find out about it and it trickles out, these companies, these conglomerates know about this months and months and months before we get the information. No one got caught with their pants down. No, Microsoft didn't just wake up that morning and go, oh, shit, look at Twitter. WB Games wants to be sold. Phil, make a call. They knew about this 6 months ago. So for all we know, the deal could be done. I believe that if there's going to be one company that can do it, it's not going to be EA, it's not going to be Activision, and it's certainly not going to be 2K Games. It's going to be Microsoft simply because of their future plans. But look, folks, this has been an incredible 2 hours. It's been a very heavy superhero show. I actually didn't originally write it this way, but when the news is the news, and, obviously I could talk about superheroes all day long. Tempest Son had to jump out. He had to handle some family business. The baby is giving the wife a hard time, so I'm gonna do his outro as soon as we're done giving everyone else's. But this is, again, folks, this has been a great show. Let me just catch up on one of the super chats that had just come in after Sir X-Men, and it's once again Viper XT drops an outstanding, very generous $5 super chat and says the whole thing could be a form of misdirection to prevent the sale getting leaked before DC Fandom and before an announcement is ready. Well, that's pretty interesting. Folks, listen, I want to say this. I do apologize that I didn't greet everyone individually. Normally, it's something I enjoy doing. Today was a bit of a cluster, so to speak, behind the microphone that you guys will never see. But I just want to thank everybody for being here. We had almost 400 people live today. I'm glad to be back podcasting. I can tell you that tomorrow's Sony show is going to be epic. If you're interested in hearing our thoughts and theories of what Sony is doing next gen, you should tune in at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, we'll be back Thursday on the Xbox Factor podcast and Friday morning on Breakfast with Boom. It's going to be a great panel, a lot of great topics. And, again, folks, I'm very happy to be here. I want to thank the incredible amount of super chats that came in this evening. You continue to power the show. We also have a new channel member. That's a big deal for a small but growing channel. I am 48 subs away from 5,000. That is a big deal for me. I only started this show, this particular YouTube channel about 2.5 years ago. So to have that many subs in that amount of time is thanks to this outstanding community. But let's get into the outros, of course, and we'll start with Gaming Forte. Gaming Forte, you obviously have been really churning out not just content as fodder, but I mean like really well produced, thought-provoking content to the point where it is almost, I'm expecting something new every day. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your outstanding and content-filled YouTube channel.
Yeah, man, appreciate that, man. It's Gaming Forte everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live. If you want to just hit up and click up with me in any of these games, hit me up on there. New videos coming out throughout the week. Didn't get a chance to get to one today because prepping for inventory at work and it sucks. So so it definitely sucks when you got good thing we ain't got that much product because pandemic and all. But overall, man, it's a great show, man. Love being here with you guys. It's very thought-provoking. And just a little knowledge, if you guys didn't know, a little thing called Steam. It looks like EA Access is going to Steam very soon because there is a welcome page for EA Access on Steam's not on their front page, but in their news section. So if you don't like Origins, there's a good chance that you ain't got to ever log into it again. You could just play straight through Steam in the near future. So if you didn't know that, there's some food for thought. But thanks again. Always a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Well, it's great to have you a part of the show each and every week and love the energy that you bring to not only this show, but the community as a whole. Next up, Clowns, obviously you are still alive and that floating pizza or / calzone that you're on hasn't sunk.
Yes.
Obviously, it's great to have you a part of today's particular program, but every week simply because you do have tremendous comic knowledge and love the fact that you were able to name drop some heavy DCEU / image personnel that you personally know. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone about Four Guys with Quarters and where they can follow you on social media.
Thanks, Boom. At 4GWQ Podcast on social media, Four Guys with Quarters on YouTube, and then at Italian Clowns on everything else. Also, we did have a Four Guys with Quarters episode tonight with Fork Boy and UK Dazarus.
Nice.
So after the show, if you guys want to check it out, feel free to do so.
Excellent. Well, that's going to be a rare and good time because both of them are gentlemen and know their stuff. So that sounds like that was going to be awesome. I will definitely check it out as I'm doing some housework tomorrow. It's added to the list already. And last and no way least, obviously new to the program, but not new to gaming, middle-aged gamer guy, also known as Mag. First of all, dude, it's great to have you a part of each and every week. I know that you were,
thank you.
Like a caged tiger, like you said, you couldn't wait to talk about the topics. And you brought it 100%. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media and potentially play with you on your gaming platform of choice.
Well, yes, sir. You can follow me on Twitter at Middle-Aged Game Guy. That's a GY at the end. The link will be in the show notes below. You can also find me on Xbox at all capitals DEDMEAT1. That is Dead Meat 1. And on the PlayStation side of things, you can follow me at, once again, all capitals, one word, I am the Mag. So I look forward to seeing everybody next week. It was a great show tonight. Thank you, chat. Thank you, panel. And thank you, Boom, of course. And have a good night, everyone.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And of course, real quick, Michelle Alexandria drops an outstanding $2 super chat. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, thank you for your generosity as always. It's great to see you in the chat, and you always have something important and interesting to say for sure. Everyone, listen, this has been a great show. I want to thank everybody for coming out. It is great to be back once again. And yes, this week is going to be content packed on Double Barrel Gaming. If you enjoyed this, listen, do me a favor, hit that like button before you get on out of here. Oh, and at last, wow, this came in at the last second. The Wise Old Gamer has become a channel member. Thank you for that, dude. Super appreciate the generosity and supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And like I said, folks, if you are enjoying the content, let other people know about Double Barrel Gaming. It helps, and we do want to try and hit that 5,000, hopefully by the end of the week. That would be awesome. But anyway, listen, folks, it's been great. I'm happy to be back, and I just want to close out the show with something that is important to me and hopefully is important to you. My dad taught me a lot of things, but two things stuck with me through my entire life. One is treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.